What if the way we experience something as basic as sadness, or joy, or distress isn't universal at all? Today, we're diving into cultural psychiatry. It's a field that shows us the incredible, and often invisible, ways our culture literally shapes our mental health from the inside out.
Okay, so it all really boils down to this one simple but pretty powerful idea. We all share one human mind, but we live in so many different worlds. And it's that diversity that shapes our inner lives in ways we're only just now beginning to really understand.
So let's really put this to the test with a huge question. Is the experience we call depression in a city like Toronto the exact same as it is in Tokyo? I mean, is sadness even expressed the same way? Is the path to getting help identical? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is a big, resounding no.
And this is really the heart of it. Our culture provides the lens through which we see our own minds. It gives us the language, the framework, to even begin to understand and talk about our distress. So to really get mental health, we have to first understand that lens.
Okay, so let's actually define this lens. To see the whole picture, we need to get clear on a couple of core concepts that are the engine for this entire field.
First up, cultural psychiatry itself. Now, this isn't just about acknowledging diversity as nice. No, it's a scientific field that digs into how culture shapes everything, from the symptoms a person feels to the way they describe them, and yeah, ultimately, to what kind of treatment is actually going to work.
Next, we absolutely have to talk about a massive barrier: psychiatric stigma. This is so much more than just a negative label. It's a really powerful force of discrimination that can totally isolate people and actively block them from getting the care they need. And you gotta understand, stigma isn't just one thing. It really operates in two ways. You've got the external, social stigma. That's the discrimination you face from the world around you. But then there's the internal kind, which is when a person actually absorbs those negative messages and turns them inward, creating this heavy barrier of shame.
So, we have culture on one hand and stigma on the other. Now, let's see how these two forces crash into each other and how they often create this powerful wall of silence.
And here's the core connection. When mental health care is culturally blind, when it just doesn't respect a person's background, it doesn't just feel kind of useless, it can actually feel like a judgment. That fundamental mismatch is exactly what fuels stigma and pushes people away from ever getting help.
And for so many people, stigma doesn't act alone. It intersects with all these other barriers. I mean, just imagine the challenge of seeking mental health care when it's compounded not just by your ethnicity, but also your gender, your income, or your status as a migrant. Each layer just adds more weight, making that burden so much heavier.
And the consequences of this are devastatingly real. The research makes it crystal clear. Stigma isn't just some abstract idea. It leads to a lower quality of life, to social isolation, and to measurably worse health outcomes. It has real, tangible, harmful effects.
So, how is the field fighting back against all this? Let's dive into the critical conversations and the really groundbreaking work that's happening in cultural psychiatry right now.
This is where it gets really exciting. This is the cutting edge. Experts aren't just defining the problem anymore. They're on the front lines, actively developing new ways to understand and completely dismantle stigma by looking at it from every single angle you can think of.
So, what does that actually look like in practice? Well, for one, it means studying a culture's narratives, the deep-seated stories they tell about mental illness. It also means working to update global diagnostic manuals, like the DSM-5, so they aren't just based on one Western cultural model. And, so crucially, it means confronting historical trauma, acknowledging how events like colonization have lasting impacts on a community's mental health for generations.
And the conversation just gets bigger from there. We're seeing a huge focus on community-based initiatives, because local leaders often know best what their communities actually need. There's vital research into the unique stresses that refugees face, and, of course, a hard look at how digital media is basically rewriting the rules on mental health for all of us, for better and for worse.
Look, all of these different lines of research, they all share one clear goal: to tear down the walls of stigma and build a system of care that is truly equitable and effective for everyone, everywhere, period.
All right, we've covered the problems and the cutting-edge solutions, so what's the one big idea you should really take away from all this? Let's boil it all down.
Here it is. It's really this simple. If we want to truly reduce stigma and improve mental health outcomes for people across the globe, it all begins with understanding culture. It is the essential, absolutely non-negotiable first step.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought to ponder. What if our healthcare system could actually, truly speak every single cultural language of the mind? What kind of world would we build then? That's the future that cultural psychiatry is fighting for. Thanks for joining us.